Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Josh.
And welcome back to Good Karma Birding. So today we're doing an episode of How We Met, and this episode will be about the Eastern Meadowlark.
If you haven't seen this series, basically we tell you about one of our birds that we have seen and tell you if it's got we had an interesting story on how we met it. And we'll show you some pictures. You will have already heard an audio clip that we recorded of it right there at the beginning after our intro. And basically that's it. This is how we met the Eastern Meadowlark.
Okay, so before we tell you, we like to talk about the bird a little bit because you may not know what an Eastern Meadowlark is. So an Eastern Meadowlark is a medium-sized songbird. They have a short tail, but they have a long bill, and they hang around grasslands and farms, and sometimes they'll hang out on telephone lines. And they're a very gorgeous bird. They're bright yellow, and they've got like a black V over there along their neck, and then they have like some other black and gray kind of markings too.
Bright yellow on their chest and
on
belly,
their
not
body.
the wings as
not
well,
the
but
wings.
yeah.
But they like to stalk the grass. They like to look for insects. They usually go, like I said, they hang around farmlands, so they'll like use their bill and they'll like mess up the ground, and it gets the insects like the worms and everything that hides in the earth to kind of like move around, and then they eat. It says they're a meadow lark, but they are actually part of the blackbird family. So along with the brown-headed cowbirds and the European starlings and birds like that, which I was like, what? That's what I read. They're in a steep decline in like the species. I don't know if I didn't read if they're being hunted, or it didn't really say why, or if it did, I don't remember. I'm sorry. If you know, leave a comment. So males and females, they look the same with the bright yellow, but the only different plumage you'll see is when the meadowlarks aren't breeding, like they're not breeding yet. They may be young, juvenile. They're just going to be a paler yellow. They're not going to have that bright yellow. And I think in the fall, some of their yellow kind of fades away, and then in the spring and summer, it'll come back full force, because that's kind of when birds start to breed and get ready to make more
Nest. Yeah.
make more baby birds. So when it is a breeding season, a male meadowlark may have two mates, two different females that he's going to have nests with. And well, from what I read, he doesn't really take much part in the nesting. Sorry, my cat, our cat is
Come here, little
a jerk. But anyway, so the male may have two female mates, and sometimes three, but they said it was rare, so usually two. Apparently there's western meadowlarks. They're on the other side of the country. There is an area where their territories kind of overlap. They're like right next to each other. It did say sometimes it's rare, but sometimes they do, the eastern and the western mate together, and they kind of have like a hybrid bird, or hybrid nest rather. But it's rare. It doesn't happen a lot. But I did read that also, like the eastern meadowlarks, they'll sing, and then the western meadowlarks will sing. And even though I guess you would consider them the same family, but different regions, that even though they're similar, but they are different, their songs sound so different to each other. It sounds like a completely different language, and then they start fighting, and they won't share the territory. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah. So they eat insects, like I said. They like mess around in the ground, and they get all those bugs moving. But they will eat, like, since they're on the grasslands, the farmlands, they will eat corn, and they will eat wild fruit. But it did say they don't eat wheat. I was like, okay. So whenever it is time to build a nest, the female usually kind of goes out on her own, and since he's busy, doing his thing with others, she kind of goes out on her own And you see that sometimes some species, the bird dads are there, and then sometimes they're not. So it's just, you never know. It depends on the species, like I said. But she kind of goes alone, and she will find like a depression in the ground. And an example of that is like a hoof print left behind by a cow or something. Like I said, the farmland. Maybe cows on the farmlands, and they may leave hoof prints. So she'll find like something like that. Kind of, if she can find something like that with some vegetation nearby, then that's like more likely where she's gonna go. And I looked up some pictures of their nests, because the way they described them, I was like, no way that she does all this by herself. But I read that she'll make a nest, and there have been some meadowlark nests that have overhead ceilings and tunnel entrances. And I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. And I Googled it. I looked up Eastern Meadowlark nests. And do yourself a favor and go do that, after the video, or right now if you want to pause. Because
Make sure
it's pretty.
you come back, though.
Come back, because we're not done.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. And she does that by herself. So.
We only like to share pictures that we've taken. We don't, have any of those pictures of nests yet. So, maybe in the future we will.
Yeah. But yeah, she like I said, she does this alone, and then like some of the pictures I saw, it was like it had like a tunnel thing going on, and then the nest or the eggs were tucked like inside the tunnel, and there'd be like 4 or 5. They can have up to 7. I think I read. I might be wrong. And then like they hatch, and then the babies are just like staying in that little tunnel, and she goes and hunts, and then goes to feed them, and they're just like all like, oh, mommy's back. But anyway, and they're just like in their little tunnel. It's adorable. So I thought that was pretty amazing. I was like, wow, go you. But anyway, so the first time we saw Eastern Meadowlark, it was my birthday weekend last year in 2020, and what I wanted to do, because I was new at birding and he was new at birding, and I was like, let's have a whole weekend where we go to a bunch of different spots. Mm-hmm. That's basically all we did the whole weekend.
It was fun.
It was really fun. We saw a lot of things, and we were new, so everything that we saw was new, and it was awesome.
Very exciting.
Yeah, so he does this a lot, actually, but it was one of those times where he did this. He was like, I want to see an Eastern Meadowlark today. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't really know much about meadowlarks at all. Yeah,
we kind of do this. When we go out on birding trips, we'll do that. We'll kind of, most of the time it's jokingly, we'll say, what do you want to see today? Just like we can specifically go find one,
Yeah.
And that was just happened to be the bird that I said that day. I said, I was like, I want to see an Eastern Meadowlark today.
Yeah. So we were out by the Cherokee Dam in Jefferson County. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
And I think we had just visited the dam, and we were like going to the next spot or going home.
We walked along the top of the dam, and then we were actually going to go drive down and go down near the tailwaters there, and.
Yeah, but we were driving along the road. I think what is that? Is that Highway 92?
92, yes.
Yeah. And if you've never driven on it, it's basically, the dam is like the big thing that's there, but it's mostly just like a country road. And so we were driving along, and Josh goes, oh my God, there's an Eastern Meadowlark. There was one just like chilling it was in a field next to the road.
Yeah, and the only way really that I knew is I was driving, and I was just looked over in the field, and I saw that bright yellow chest, and I told her, I said, I can't believe it. I said, you're not going to believe me either, because we had that conversation that morning about what I wanted to see. And I said, there's an Eastern Meadowlark right over there in that field. And we had never seen it in person, so it was kind of like, I was honestly kind of surprised that I knew what it was. It's kind of a guess, because I saw the yellow and I wasn't 100% sure, but sure enough, we turned around, and you'll see some of the pictures that Amanda took.
He pulled over, and I got out and I tried to find this bird. The bright yellow you would think would stick out, but once they're in the field, it doesn't really stick out much anymore. They make it work for them. But so I had to like look for this meadowlark and take pictures of it. I got a few pictures. This is before we had our longer lens too. So there's something in my eye. Okay. Anyway, and then we actually saw one recently. We're out in the same kind of setting, not in the same place, not in the same area, but like a farmland neighborhood, so to speak, where there's like 3 or 4 different farms and pastures and whatever. We saw some birds sitting on the line, on the like power lines, and while we're in this area, it's in White Pine, Tennessee, which is like a teeny tiny town near where we live, and when we're out there, we've seen a lot of American kestrels, and that's like one of our favorite. It's one of my favorite hawks or falcons. Falcons, yes, because they're really small. It's basically a really tiny falcon that will like eat other birds that are almost the same size as it. It's kind of crazy, but
they're about the same size as a mourning dove, a little bit larger than a mourning dove.
They're little. So we've seen a lot of those out there, and they're usually on the power line. So we were taking pictures of birds on the power line to see if, they're American kestrels there. And wouldn't you know it, we saw Eastern Meadowlark on the power line. And I was like, whoa.
That was actually the 3rd time. I don't know if you remember the 2nd time we saw Eastern Meadowlark, but we'll just kind of break into that real quickly. I know this is a series about how we met it.
Yeah.
But we were actually in Nashville, and we had told another birder that we had met. We had went to see a very rare bird, the painted bunting, down in Nashville. And we told this story to another birder that we met down there to see that painted bunting about the Eastern Meadowlark. And we thought it was funny just telling that story about how odd it was. I just said I would like to see it, and then we saw it. And literally that same day, I can't remember what town we were in, but we were down near Chattanooga trying to see the Mississippi kites. Remember that?
Swallowtail kites.
Swallowtail kites, yes.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to see it, unfortunately. But
no.
after the same day that I had told this guy about that, we saw the Eastern Meadowlark again that day. And so it kind of became a thing. It's like, if you wake up and talk about the Eastern Meadowlark, you never know. You might see one. So try that out. I'm gonna say it's worked for me twice. I'm not saying there's something there, but just try it out sometimes.
You never know. But yeah, it's a very pretty bird. It likes to hang out in the farmlands. If you drive around farmlands, you just never know what you'll see.
Yes,
We've seen some incredible stuff. And if you have the ability to do that, go for it, because you just don't know. Or if you live in an area that has a lot of farmland, you may not. But
and if you live in a farmland area, we envy you.
Yeah, we don't really. We have to go driving and looking around.
Yes.
But yeah, we have family though.
Yes, we do.
So, but I think that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have anything else to add.
I don't think so. Well, maybe I do want to say, she's got a little sign off here that she'll say in a minute.
Okay.
It's usually keep your eye on the sky, but in this particular case, keep your eye on the field, because
and the power lines.
And the power lines as well. Yeah, but the first time we saw it, like I said, it was just standing there as pretty as could be. And we actually saw 2 that day. Remember?
Yeah.
We actually did. We saw 2 that day. So.
Yes. Like the power line, there have been, like I've said American kestrel. I know it's not about American kestrel, but there have been other times when, because they're so small, that we probably wrote them off as doves, but they probably weren't. And we just we're now in a habit where we just zoom in on those and make sure. But yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, that's another video we'll definitely have to do it on the American kestrel.
Yes.
We don't have the best pictures of it right now.
Yeah, we're trying.
We do have some, but not the best. So we want to try and give the best photos we can. We're not professional, as we said. We're not professional birders, but we like to try and share some of our experiences with you, pictures, videos, and stuff like that.
Anyway, sorry about our cat. He's being kind of a jerk. He's like that sometimes.
Yes.
But anyway, thanks for watching. As always, please comment and share and tell all your friends, and let us know if there's anything you want to see us do or talk about.
If you have Eastern Meadowlarks in your area and you have a funny story or just anything you want to say about the Eastern Meadowlark, please leave it in the comment below. Tell us some Western Meadowlark stories if anybody out in the Western. I almost said Western Tennessee. Anybody out? I think it's west of the Mississippi River, if I'm not mistaken. So, anybody out west in the country, you know, tell us some stories.
Yeah, sure.
We want to be as interactive as possible. So
yes,
we want to learn as you learn.
Especially about all the birds on that side of the country, because we don't know. We don't know. We'd like to get out there someday, but we'll see. Yeah, so yeah, just let us know if there's anything you want to see us talk about and do in the videos. Also, I have a blog that I try to post to every Monday. It coincides with this too. And if there's anything you want to see me write about or whatever on that, let us know. And we have a photography page if you like photography. And we're on Twitter as well. So
all that is linked in the description of every video. So
links. Yeah. And as always, keep an eye on the sky and the power lines and the fields and the water. You just don't know. You never know what you'll see. So just remember that. And thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching.